What's good, y'all? Welcome to Soul Sister Speaks. My name is JEMAI. I'm your host, and I'm here with the beautiful, the talented, the outstanding Gloria. Gloria, do you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Gloria Kinney-Bassoon. I am a graduating senior. I literally graduate next week. I am a fourth year marketing and African diaspora studies major, and also be graduating with my minor in entrepreneurship and media and entertainment industries.
Jesus!
So I did quite a lot.
How do you feel about graduating soon?
Honestly, it feels like surreal. I just didn't know that I'd be here so quickly. And when I started college, I thought I had all the time in the world to get to the 4 years at the end. But now that I'm here, I think I'm just really accomplished, or proud of my accomplishments, really.
Yes.
Because when I was a freshman, I literally could not have foreseen this being my next steps. Like, God has literally ordained the next steps in my life. And I'm just like, anxious in a good way to see what he continues to do in my life. So
can you tell us a little more of the makings of who you are? Like, who is Gloria?
Yeah, so I was born in Arlington, Texas. I do come from a family of immigrants. I'm Nigerian American. I have 3 older sisters. I'm the 4th girl, and then I have a little brother. Oftentimes growing up, I did feel like I had to follow their shadow. And I think at some point in high school, I decided, like, this is what I want to do with my life. And it's okay if it doesn't mirror what my other sisters are doing.
Yeah. So what was the moment that was like the deciding factor for you as far as establishing your own identity and choosing your own course?
Yeah, so I feel like when I got the chance to really establish my identity was when Joyce and I didn't choose the same college. That's when I feel like I got the chance to establish exactly who I was and what I was doing, because no longer did I feel pressured about my life looking like a spitting image of Joyce's. But when I was younger, by nature, I think I really enjoyed watching like movies with my dad. I just enjoyed the fact that we could kind of escape from life's troubles when we watched a film together. So I was like, I want to make this some part of my career. And like when I was a little girl, I used to want to be an actress. And that wasn't something my parents were like, oh, whore. But I still wanted to find out how I can plug those dreams into my career.
So with having immigrant parents, something that you talked about was like plausibility when it comes to choosing careers. Or what do you feel is the determining factor that kind of stops them from pushing their children into dreams that might not be as like laid out? It's not necessarily like do this, then do that, then do this.
Because I think they are products where they saw that having and it sucks to say this, but they were products of where having faith did not always lead to the success they wanted. And so I think that's kind of why that they push us towards STEM, because they see like you are an American, you know, you don't have the accent. That's things they think about. Yeah. They're like, you don't have to experience, you don't even experience like nearly much as what they have to go through as immigrants. You kind of have the map laid out. So I think that's kind of what part plays into it. They had faith to be the things they studied for, but there's structure and there's institutions that don't allow people who come from other countries to succeed nearly as much as those who are born in America. So I think the faith was there, but the resources weren't.
Yeah. Have your parents opened up more to you about their experiences or like what it was like migrating to this country?
Yeah, in some ways, I feel like me and my siblings dig for it. Like we kind of like fish for the information. For example, me and my siblings are cleaning out the garage and we found like old archives and letters of things that was like our dad or our mom's. And my dad, like, I don't know why this isn't knowledge I knew of earlier. I knew he had a bachelor's, but I never questioned where he got it. And it was from the University of Romania. And he got an architecture degree. We saw the yearbook picture and we saw what he wanted to do with his life and how he wanted to intertwine his master's in finance with architecture. He wanted to build banks. He wanted to serve the community in Nigeria. He wanted to expand the livelihood of people. And that was just a dream, but I'm like, why am I just now uncovering this? And so it's painful, honestly. And I think that's why sometimes they don't talk about it. But I think they feel their happiness with the fact they have children who don't have to be limited by that. But my parents are always open if we ask.
And do you feel like asking them or learning more about them helps you learn more about yourself?
Yeah, actually. For me, it's like I can't talk about who I am without telling you who they are, because I'm an extension of them. And I feel like it's everything to me. It's the reason I'm so driven. It has so much to do with what they've done. I feel like my drive and my motivation comes from the Lord, but my parents are like a vessel in a way. Anytime I've convinced myself I can't do something, I literally have to snap out of it. I'm like, that's false. Like, you have been blessed with parents who literally believe in you, and constantly God is like showing you that you are destined for greatness. And so why would you not believe it? So I think literally it's hard to dissociate myself from them, because they are literally my world. I want to literally be a part of like creating shows and films that reflect the things that I went through. And so I don't think if I had a different set of parents, I genuinely believe that my career interests would probably be different.
So when it comes to you saying like, God has literally shown me that I'm destined for greatness, I'm like, girl, yeah, you better speak on it.
Yeah.
Has that always been your train of thought, or is that something that God has had to take you through a journey of believing?
Both. So I say it to start with this. I've had 3 near-death experiences. Wow. And it's been at different like points in my life. And to think that I am still here, it's crazy. So when I was 6, I was like in first grade. No, I was in first grade, and I nearly drowned at a birthday party. That to me was like the first sign. I remember literally asking God, like literally in the water, like all this water entering my body, just saying like, if you still want me to live, like please save me. Like that's all I'm asking for. I don't know what to do. I'm hopeless. And then his hand just goes in the water. I just see a hand, and I just keep jumping to grab it. Like I'm trying my best, and I survive, obviously. Mm-hmm. But the second time, I can't believe I missed the first time. It was when I was a baby. So that was the second time. Okay. The first time was when I was a baby. My mom and dad obviously had to go to work, so they hired babysitters. Mm-hmm. And there was a tornado, and I was at the top in a cradle. I was the only thing in the room that didn't get carried by the tornado. Wow. The roof lifted and everything, and I was still in the crib intact. So that was the first instance, the tornado. The second was almost drowning. And then at 17, I was driving to school, and I got in a car accident. I just remember like driving, and a car came out of nowhere. I had the right of way, and I literally slid across the road, and I just couldn't. That is terrifying. And so that just those instances, I'm just like, I'm here for a reason. Like I don't know how else to grasp this, but God has continually saved me from very fatal situations. And so it feels nice to know that I'm still here. And then everything that I've done or any accomplishment I've made, I've never gotten it in the traditional way. Like God has literally made faith the backbone of my accomplishments. I don't feel like I've just gotten things and then received it. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of prayer and fasting and seeking clarity in his voice in it all in the process. Like going to UT, getting the scholarship was literally not even, I didn't apply for it. What people don't know is like cost of attendance is not just tuition. It's tuition and housing. Yeah. That's a big part of going to school. So when UT showed up to my house with like that scholarship, I still was like, that's not enough money. Like you have a full ride, you have a full tuition. Your parents are going to want you to choose that. So I just waited. I went all throughout spring semester, senior year. Like my heart was in my like stomach. I just couldn't, like living felt so hard. Like it's funny to think that I couldn't get through that time in life, and I'm really right here getting through life. And so what happened was I just played the waiting game for months, and you know, literally the day of decision day, which is usually May 1st, I think, I get an email from the UT Office of Admissions literally just a few minutes before I need to decline or accept either school. Gracious. And the assistant director of admissions is like, we want you so bad, and we are willing to match the offer. So whatever TCU is going to cover, UT will do the same. And that is how I got here. Same thing with like my internship at Google. I completed an internship at Google last summer. Backstory. There's always a backstory. I'm here for So when I was a sophomore, Google has this program called BOLD. It's BOLD Immersion, and that is intended for sophomores who are interested in like marketing, tech, all those spaces. And it's a development program. It's 1 week. It's just a very tight pool, so you're very honored if you get selected. and I got rejected. And I remember being so sad. I felt like I was getting so many rejections at that time. Pandemic induced. People maybe just didn't want me as an applicant. Like, there was just so many things, and I was giving up so bad. So fast forward to my junior year. In between that rejection of sophomore and junior year, I was connected to somebody who was a UT alum, who worked at Google, or still works at Google. And I was told, like, you should definitely connect with her. And I'm like, that's funny, because I found her on LinkedIn, saw that she went to UT, and I reached out to her about the one that I got rejected from. And so it was just funny that somebody who was in my community, who worked in McCombs, had already literally put her into my face, but I had knowledge of her before, so it just was confirmation that I was supposed to know her. And so when the application for the internship opened, we had already had an established connection. And I was telling her, like, I think I'm eager again. I'm over the rejection. Like, I'm ready to reapply. But this time, the stakes are higher because it's an internship. It's not a program anymore. And this time, the internship is 12 weeks long, 40 hours a week. It's a full-time position. And I tell her, like, I'm ready to give it my all. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I understood that everyone applying would probably submit something generic. And that wasn't bad, but I'm like, I want to stand out. Like, I want them to notice me. So I didn't just submit the resume and, hey, let us know where you live and your email. Like,
here's my cover letter.
I said, I'm gonna do a cover letter, but it's gonna be very non-traditional. I did like a pretend like Google search. I like said, like, why is Gloria Kinney Boasting the best candidate? And then all of the like web searches were like reasons why Google should hire me. And at the very bottom, it had links to my work, and one of the works was the documentary. And that is what I submitted. And I also created like a mock campaign for Google, like how they can amplify, gentrification during Black History Month, and ways they can support communities that are literally being damaged by it. So I submit, and I'm ready, and then I get an email, and it says, unfortunately, we've decided to pursue other candidates at this time.
Wait.
That's what I'm saying.
No, because...
And so, little old me, who am like, this is not right. Because I'm like...
God clearly meant to send this.
Yeah, this is the wrong email. I'm like, God, you literally told me that this was mine. Like, I don't understand what you're doing anymore. And I remember being so sick to my stomach. I was crying, but I wanted to be alone. And my sisters, again, which I feel like are so intentional to like everything I do. I'm so blessed to have them in my life, like so blessed, including my brother. Joy specifically was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you. And she's like, what is it? And I'm like, I got a rejection. She ends up asking me to tell her what the company was. And I tell her, and she's like, dang, I'm sorry. Like, Google is a big deal, and I'm so sorry that this wasn't what you got. And I'm like, but Joyce, I just know I was qualified. Like, you have to know that I knew this. She's like, let me see what you submitted. I showed her all I submitted. Her and Vanessa were like, no, you need a second opinion. I was only going to reach out to the recruiter who rejected me because I wanted to find out why. Like, I wasn't asking for a second chance. I just genuinely wanted to know what I can do to be better, because at that point I was fed up. And so they say reach out to Alyssa. And then Alyssa, she didn't get back to me the first time. She said she would, and then I messaged her again, like, so here's the draft of what I'm going to send to the recruiter. And she tells me to wait. She's like, actually, I'm going to look into something. She goes in. I don't know what she did, but she spoke to somebody there. She comes back to me and she's like, so it appears as though on file you're a senior. This internship is for juniors. If you can get confirmation that you are in your third year, we'll get the ball rolling from there. And then I get like a letter from McCombs, like so quickly. They authorize my name, make it clear that I'm a junior, get it back to Alyssa. She sends it to some contact at Google. In the same hour, I got an interview. And then I remember crying my heart out, praising the Lord, like all that weekend. Like, that interview just had to work out because you made it happen, and the timing of it all was something I couldn't ignore. And then I got the offer. I got a phone call the day before Thanksgiving. Like, he just gave me so much things to be grateful for. And on the phone, I got a phone call. They were like, we wanted to accept you so bad, but we thought you were a senior. And like I told you, I got an associate's degree. So that has made my profile at UT appear as though I'm older than everyone else. And that's what they were going by. But they did not know I was actually in my third year. And I'm glad that God let my sisters tug at me and beg me to tell them what it was, because I would not have gotten a second opinion. And so that is another way God literally challenged my faith. He literally trained me to believe in him more. It just didn't happen in the way everyone thinks. I didn't apply and receive. It was not that simple.
Okay, so can you tell us about the internship itself now?
So the internship itself, I felt absolutely amazing. It was everything. I think they really treated me as an employee. I didn't feel like they minimized my intelligence because I was an intern. It was the most I've ever been challenged. I sat on the edge of my bed every day scared, because at the end of the internship, everyone knows that they consider you for a job. Everyone doesn't get it. So I was scared all the time, but I had an amazing internship. I felt so welcomed there. I was well taken care of. God put me in a great financial position, because he understood like my senior year would require a lot of payments and funding, like, you know, wanting to buy a car. Like, that was something I did this year by the grace of God. Thank you. And he made that possible with these opportunities. I ended up having 2 weeks after Google ended, and then I started a new one. I did another internship in the fall, and I can't say why I didn't give myself rest, but it was a great experience too. It was with Universal Pictures, you know, the film company.
I was listening like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, like they really enjoyed my experience at Google. So I am seeing how my experience builds on top of each other. Everything I've done, it feels like it was necessary to happen. I needed that experience to get to this point, because it made me grateful. It like really embedded gratitude into my heart. I feel like now, like I've been able to see how interning at Google has produced like the next phase of my life. Like, that's why I haven't really announced it, but I'm announcing it here, that I'll be working full-time for Google this year.
Glory be to God.
Yeah, like,
oh my goodness.
And I remember being like, you're kidding. Like, no, you're gonna be working. And so I'll be moving to the Bay Area, working for Google full-time. And I think about how, like, if I did not take that leap of faith from that initial rejection, this full-time offer would be non-existent, because that full-time offer came from the internship. So I think about how every little step literally mattered. And that's how I feel like I've been able to watch it all like unfold in the most beautiful way possible, because I literally don't know how I could have done this without God. Like, there's just no way at all. He has literally blessed me with community that helps me reaffirm my value in him. Like, they even knew that something was wrong. For them to even feel that way, to feel that you need a second opinion, it's like God has revealed to them as well who I am. He has revealed to me who they are. Like, we are very well aware of each other's greatness, and I'm grateful for that. And then on top of that, I like knowing that I want to work in like media and film in the long term. He knew that California is where I need to be. So he, like, my job offer is in California. So it's like he has literally placed me in places that I need to be in, that is necessary for where he's taken me.
With your walk in Christ, like, do you have any like anxieties or any fears walking into that location?
Honestly, I don't. And I feel like maybe that should be how I feel, but it's not how God has made me feel. What I've learned early on is that in order to be a light in this world the way God has called us to be, we will have to be in dark places. Why would he send light into more light?
You can't light up light.
You can't light up light, you know? So he will send you into a place that needs the blessing. They need to hear God's voice louder. And so I kind of just view it that way, that my touch on the industry will be necessary to whatever he wants me to do in this life. And so when I think about what I want to do, because I did get like premonition or like doubt about it. I've been told by some people that, are you sure you want to go in this industry? Like, it's very untraditional. And I'm like, I don't feel like God is calling me anywhere else. Of course, people have made me like think twice about it, but there's no need to, especially when it's been affirmed. I feel like moving is necessary for the woman God is calling me to be. It's so necessary for like this post-grad glow. I feel like I'm entering a stage in my life where I'm like so open to receiving whatever it is that you want to drop in my lap, God. I've never been more desperate to just hold his hand, because I've seen what that has done for me my entire life. Anytime I've accidentally let go because I was going through too much or so much, or got distracted by things of this world, I felt so lost. It felt so, literally, it felt disgusting. It felt like you've been derailed. Like you ever like have been driving and you keep missing your exit, or you're like driving and you're just like, why am I not, like, you're so not focused that you keep missing where you're supposed to going. It's adding time till you arrive to your destination. That's what it feels like when I'm not holding God's hand. I'm going to constantly be lost. And until I can just follow the GPS as is, like, and just have a clear mind, I will not get where I need to be. And so that's how it feels. I hate being lost. Yeah. And so I feel like this chapter is constantly being found through God.
I want to ask, like, before we wrap this episode up, dating back to your senior year, if you had settled for TCU, where do you think you'd be in your journey now? Do you still believe that God would have carried you and brought you to this point?
I feel like my life could have taken a different direction. I don't know what it was, but it wouldn't have been business, because I don't even think I got accepted to their business school. And so that was a big part of what I was, going to school for, business. And as far as like film and media and all those other like education routes, I don't even know if I looked into that at TCU. I can't tell you it exists there. Like, I don't know if they have a media minor. Like, I don't know what exists at that school so much that I could tell you I knew what I'd be studying, if not business. But I definitely am more than confident that where I'd be working full time would be a very different company. I really don't know what that company would be, because like I told you, me going here, it's like it continues to like loop into one another. I think it just constantly proves like it's hard to imagine like the other realities that could have been when God has like literally positioned you in the one reality that is supposed to happen. But I do believe that this industry is something I was always supposed to be in. So I think he would have gotten me there. It would have been a very different, like, non-traditional route. But I think I'm more than confident I was supposed to still end up in the same space. It just would have looked extremely different. And it might have been a different kind of community. It could have been a smaller community. It could have been so many things. But I do love the way it panned out here.
By the time that this comes out, Gloria will have walked this stage. But what are your greatest takeaways from your college experience?
Surround yourself around, like, positive, God-filled people. You will get like pulled in so many directions in college. It's not even funny. Down to bad crowd, like people who may have like jealousy in their heart that want to pull you down. Like, there's just so many different walks of life that you will come and meet in college. And by walks of life, I mean people who you don't know who they were before college. You only know who they've established their character to be the moment you've met them. I also think it's literally okay to take breaks. I can say I did a lot in college, and if I could have done something differently, I would have given myself more time to rest. I didn't work at all freshman year. I didn't work this semester. So I think giving yourself freshman year to take it all in, give yourself the middle, I say sophomore, junior year to like hustle, and give yourself senior year to rest yet again. So start resting and end resting. It's so important because you have the rest of your life to work. I also think another like takeaway is to like literally be kinder to yourself. Like, I was so mean to myself as a freshman, and I just wish like if I could talk to her, like the freshman version of myself, I would have literally looked at her like, stop, like it literally will all work out. It's always worked out, so why are you freaking out? I mean, I could not imagine that the senior version of me would be like talking about the things I've been through and seeing what they have led me to. Like, I didn't know I'd be working for Google, Universal Pictures. I didn't know I'd meet great people along the way. I didn't know the connections I'd established. But giving myself time to get there was just proof that I could have been more kinder to Gloria 4 years ago. And like, that just ties to rejections. Like, don't use those things to define who you are. Yeah. God has already told you you're qualified, so I don't know why you're worried about what the world has to say. He will make you show up when necessary. And so that's important as well. I think another thing is like, don't compare yourself to people either. Like, we're literally experiencing so many people at once. That's overwhelming in itself. And so remember that you do exist in numbers, but you are more than numbers. You bring so much to the table, so don't compare yourself to someone else. Like, and I really think about all the deep. I tell myself, like, you really compare yourself to people who have a very different life trajectory. Yeah. They have not gone with you what you've gone through, and they are not going where you're going. So why would your life look like theirs? Exactly. You guys don't have the same foundation. Like, that should tell you that you don't even need to compare yourself.
You shouldn't even
want to compare yourself. When you know where you're going and who you're serving, there's no need to compare. And you know, being that this is like Soul Sister Speaks, like I've also accepted that like my womanhood is not tied to the way I'm perceived by men. I think oftentimes like the conversation of like desirability is something that comes up, you know, when you're like, you're doing everything God told you to do and you're like, I don't feel like I'm being pursued in any way. Love is something that we all like crave, but I think what I have established is that God's love for me is enough until he wants me to find that person. And I think throughout college, at some point I had to let go of like wanting things that wasn't the season that God wanted me to be in yet. And that was important for me throughout college. Like loving myself and like separating it from conversations of desirability was so important. And also just keep the faith. Like I know that's like a common phrase that people are like, okay, keep the faith, but literally keep it. Like as if it was an object, keep the faith in your back pocket. It's so important to just believe, like praying and believing that the things that are supposed to happen to you will happen. It's so important. Loving yourself, staying connected to people who love you, and keeping the faith through it all.
Thank you so much, Gloria.
You're welcome.
Can I give you a hug?
Of course. Oh my goodness, such an incredible woman.
You guys, this is episode 5 of Soul Sister Speaks, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Tell about the healer. Greater is the one within her, call him as the leader. Teach her how to hold a pretty hand up to the sky. Never wait upon the giver, he'll deliver like a dealer.